Chris Poole. Like Jen Malcolm, he has also been bullish about the strength of the ACC. Well, last year his Seminoles won it. He won his third Coach of the Year honor, and now the Seminoles and the Golden Bears are underway in Tully Gym. Free ball opportunity for Florida State. And out of the middle, Corey Lewis is dug up and out of play. Lewis and the Seminoles strike first here this evening.
We're going to say Corey Lewis's name early and often. She's first in the ACC in hitting efficiency at .428, and that's 10th nationally. So if I'm Florida State and I get a 3-pass, I'm running through Corey Lewis as much as possible.
I say this almost with a chuckle. A few weeks ago, her hitting percentage was .480, so it's down to .428. That's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
On the back set, an off-speed attempt by Kate Mansfield. Off of Mansfield's hand and to the floor, an off-speed attack by the Seminoles, and they win the first 2 points of set one.
Taylor Head is more of an undersized outside attacker, and so she's going to use what she has to her advantage, and that's her craftiness. She's got a lot of tools in her offensive toolbox, and she knows when to use them because of all that craftiness.
Lauren Robertson back to serve once more here, early goings, and Mansfield is roofed by Head.
Coach Jen Malcolm said that they're going to try and get the slide early. That was Mansfield running that slide attack because they want to exploit the height disparity with Taylor Head on the outside, but that ball wasn't going anywhere with Taylor Head on the block.
And that serve is long. It's a good start, though, for Lauren Robertson and Florida State, and an important side out early on for California. Back to serve is Maggie Lee, the sophomore from Beijing, who lit things up in the Pac-12 as a freshman a season ago and continues her torrid streak offensively as a sophomore. Kill number 2 for Corey Lewis, who has been efficiency embodied throughout the course of her Garnet and Golden career.
Efficiency has got to be her middle name at this point. She contacts that ball at such a high point over the net and then has such direction over every single one of her swings.
Lewis, who's on pace to be the career leader in hitting percentage at Florida State. Second most is Brianna Berry, who also a middle blocker from here in Tallahassee. A double contact called on that ball there against the Seminoles, and California has their second point of set one. That'll send Sawyer Thompson back to serve. Thompson, who started the year as the M2 for the Golden Bears and has spent some time of late as their primary middle blocker. Sharp angle attempt by Taylor Head into the tape, though, and the Golden Bears are on a run here.
That set just a little too low for Taylor Head, who wasn't able to get on top of it because there wasn't enough peak.
Tight. And Taylor Head tips it over the net. Big block out there for California.
I like the aggression that Cal has come out with so far. Behind the service line, they're putting themselves in right places to score, and then defensively up at the net at the right time. And it's difficult. Florida State has a lot of weapons, but that was a really solid block.
That was a solid block indeed by Peyton DeJardin, who goes up and cleans up the overpass.
The serve and pass game is so important and imperative. If you can get an aggressive serve and then you can get the opposing team out of system or cause them to have an overpass, you're in a really good position.
Off of 2 Peyton DeJardin points, it's a 3-0 run for California to take their first lead. On the slide, Lewis dug up. Kylene Filamawa swinging away from the right side for FSU, and number 12 in gold is on the board.
One of the things that makes Kylene Filamawa so impressive is how physical she is. Look at her on the left side of your screen with that nice, hard snap on the ball, driving it down the line, and it was a one-on-one situation. She only had one block to avoid.
Tied up at 5, off of Lewis's hand and down. Cal takes the lead once more early on.
Maggie Lee was probably a little surprised that that one went down. She didn't have her full approach. She didn't max jump, but sometimes it's placement, and she was able to tool the block.
Lewis on the slide. Good luck stopping that.
Tori Lewis cruising to a very cool 3 kills already. You can run her in front on the gap set, or you can run her on the slide. She's as efficient in front of the setter and behind the setter, and that's one of the reasons she's so unique. As a middle, sometimes you're more comfortable in the front or the back, but she's both.
Speaking of middles, interesting here to see Florida State. They run a 6-2 offense, and their setters are opposite their middles. More on that here in a second, because speaking of middles, Michaela Hayden on the slide puts that ball down.
Michaela Hayden has an interesting storyline. Her last match was at the end of September, but before that she had 96 kills in 47 sets. So she's a big aspect of this team, and I know they're happy to have her back.
She's been out with an illness for roughly a month, as you mentioned, Madison, and you're all over it. Her head coach, Jen Malcolm, told us they are incredibly excited to see her back on the floor. FSU able to side out, though. Kylene Filamawa will go back to serve. Delayed call, it's a service error.
Both teams trying to serve aggressively out of the gates, which is something you have to do in this league and across the country. You have to serve aggressive to try and put yourself in a good position to play defense.
Gianna Bartalo, the libero, wearing that off-colored jersey, back to serve. Taylor Head swinging away from essentially the middle there. Yane Henke dug up. Koenig caught some hands for the kill.
Audrey Koenig has so much range and versatility right there, swinging high up over the block, wrapping some fingertips. She's a master at that, and then she can also rip it really sharp into the open seams as well.
Nearly 3 3/4 kills per set on the season for Koenig, number 4. Here's Maggie Lee. She'll want a touch call. It won't come in, though, from Suzanne Lowry and Darren Clark, our R1 and R2 this evening.
Natalie Lau did everything she could to get that set all the way out to the pin to Maggie Lee, but it was a little too far inside, and Lee was a little off-balanced.
Less than ideal pass by California. And Kenna Phelan on first contact ricocheted the ball out of play.
And if you're kind of feeling, you're kind of kicking yourself right there. You were there, but one arm, you got to put 2 arms out to control the first ball contact.
9-all, set 1. Natalie Lau back to serve. Nice pass there by Florida State. Good positive block touch by the Golden Bears. Maggie Lee. Get used to seeing that for number 3 in blue.
Maggie Lee has a lot of power, and she's also very athletic. So that means if that set is inside, she can get to it really quickly, get her feet underneath the ball, and take a big swing.
Power has been her calling card. She has been the key terminator over the course of her career at California. Nearly a misconnection there off that set. Better that time, and Koenig tools the block.
That only happened, Maggie Lee was up in the air at the right time, but the reason that happened was her palms weren't pushing back to area 6. She didn't have those hands turned in enough. She tried at the end, but she was a little late. And with that quick arm swing of Audrey Koenig, she took advantage.
Fun first set so far. FSU out to an early lead. California flipped the scoreboard. We've been tied essentially ever since. And off the slide, Kate Mansfield records the kill.
Kate Mansfield has had a quieter couple of matches. She had 1 kill, 7, 2, and 5, and then hasn't really hit above 100. So I'd like to see her get going often, get some rhythm and some confidence in this match.
And despite those slower matches, still the 3rd leading scorer for Cal in ACC play, in fact, Mansfield. Here she is. And that was likely in the antenna. We'll see if they'll call FSU's blockers in the net. They were not, and point indeed goes to FSU.
sometimes that set is difficult to attack because if you don't cut it off early enough, you're going to hit it into the antenna.
Overpass, and Filamawa pops it back to Koenig from the back row.
I love the decision to run through Koenig wherever she is on the court because she takes these big aggressive swings off of that big attack, identifying the hands of the block really well and then swinging crossbody away.
Out of the middle, and a big rejection by Florida State. Corey Lewis, who has been, I mentioned how efficient she's been on offense. She has taken a step forward on defense this year, Madison.
She absolutely has. The eye sequence that she has, it's passer ball, setter ball, hitter. She tracks the ball perfectly into her hands and swallows it up.
Lewis this year also top 10 in the ACC in blocks per set. The service error donates the point right back to the Golden Bears. On top of being top 10 in the ACC, the 97 total blocks on the year leads FSU as a team. Another service error by California. Both of these teams have tried to serve aggressively to mixed results. Maggie Lee, huge swing from the back row, and number 3 in blue has another kill.
And Cal's got a lot of weapons on offense when you have Maggie Lee in the back and the setter is also in the back row. Then you have 3 in the front row as well. So a lot of things for the opposing block to be thinking about.
Strong serve there by California. Back set, Hayden on the slide.
Hayden just right over Yane Henke, who was a little early. Watch her take off from 1 foot and then sneaking it inside of that outside arm of Yane Henke. There's not much room there between her arms and the antenna, but she was able to find it with that quick snap, cutting it off nice and fast.
Lewis, turn back, good cover by Head. Hayden, dug up by Robertson. FSU's out of system. Filamawa off the edge of the block and down.
Filamawa is so elite from that right pin. She can hit from every area of the court, but right there, tooling off the outside arm of the blocker.
And with that, that takes us to our midway media break in set 1 with the Noles leading by 1 at home. 1 point lead here in Tallahassee, and right before the break, Kylene Filamawa, operating as the opposite today for Florida State, recorded her first kill, and she is a jack-of-all-trades type player, a Swiss Army knife, if you will. She started 7 times at either pin, 10 times, Madison, as the libero.
And one of the more impressive things about that is that she's only a sophomore, but the amount of confidence that she takes into each of these roles that she's had to fill for Florida State is really elite.
Certainly has been, and it'll be fun to watch her as she continues to grow. Just year 2 for Kylene Filamawa here in Tallahassee. Meanwhile, Peyton DeJardin beating the FSU block for the side out. We're tied again, 15-all. Hayden. And Michaela Hayden, welcome back to D1 Volleyball, Michaela.
And we see why her presence was missed. This is her first start in a month, like we talked about, but she's coming at it really aggressively. There's too much space in between Yane Henke and the antenna. She took advantage.
What an effort there from Taylor Head. Henke off speed, picked up. Great defense by Sophia Johnson.
Good decision by Kenna Phelan to go behind to Kylene Filamawa, who's the hot hands right now. I like the fact that she's feeding her when she's finding success in between the gaps of the block.
I know, so important too, Madison. We mentioned how good the pins are. If you want your pins to be successful, it's important as a setter to reverse the flow as well.
Absolutely. You have to have the opposing block respect your middles to open up options for your outside and right side attackers later on.
As it stands, plenty of work for Phelan and her hitters to do, trailing California by 1 in this first set. Koenig, good swing by number 4 in gold.
And a nice experience swing. The set was inside, she got her feet there and then turned it down the line. She didn't drive it cross court. She saw the open court, drove it down the line nice and high over the opposing block. How high she contacts that ball is a huge advantage for her.
162 kills in conference play for Audrey Koenig already. Maggie Lee. We build these two right from the outset, and for good reason. Each pin hitter with several kills here in this first set.
And I said it before, they get the good, the bad, and the ugly, but they can handle that load and take care of it. Maggie Lee really good at finding the gaps in the block. Kelsey Perry not closed to her blocker there.
Audrey Koenig, this time off the right, finds the floor.
Audrey Koenig knows just when to mix it up. She's drove a couple deep, a couple sharp cross court, and now she's gonna go off speed to that little campfire area. The defense on their heels, not ready for that.
And while we take a second to wipe up the floor, Madison, I mentioned earlier that Florida State's doing something unique with the setters and the middles. Why is that?
Well, usually middles are opposite of liberos, but Chris Poole has his middles be opposite of the setter because he's putting his hitters in a rotation that are most advantageous for their strengths because they have so much depth. So, for example, Philamau is their utility player, and it allows her to play opposite when she's in the front row with a hitter that's more comfortable in the left pin, like Taylor Head. Or she'll play outside when she's front row with Yane Henke, who's more comfortable on the right. So it just allows FSU to utilize more of their hitters untraditionally.
DeJardin on the attack. Good defense by Florida State. And California's stringing points together. A beautiful swing by Maggie Lee down the line, and now it's Kate Mansfield off the right. With that, Florida State has seen enough. They call timeout.
It's really important to have rhythm between your setter and your opposite or your middles, and Kate Mansfield right now has a lot of rhythm with Natalie Lau, able to find the open court with a nice, sharp crossbody swing.
A 2-point lead for California, first into that so-called red zone, the final 5 points of the set. And I mentioned again, these two players, Maggie Lee and Audrey Koenig. Koenig with 6 kills hitting north of 500. Lee herself with 3 hitting 400. Each player has done their job here in this first set.
And this is their job. Take advantage of the sets that they've been given. They're going to get a lot of them inside out and in transition. And what's really impressive about this is the efficiency that they're taking care of the ball. A lot of times you'll see an outside hitter have less of an efficient showing because they get so many sets. But Koenig and Lee both taking care of the ball.
And how about these Golden Bears? Madison, we spoke with Jen Malcolm right before the match, and she said the travel into Tallahassee was less than ideal. Their flight out of Berkeley was diverted into Dallas. They missed their layover in Dallas, landed in Miami, bussed from Miami, and got to Tallahassee at 7 a.m. today. She said one of their key words is adapt, and they've been doing a lot of adapting today.
You just have to. This is one of those matchups where after that, you have to dig deep. You have to find something deep within you to come out and play aggressive and play strong and play like you got a full night's rest. And they have so far. I've been really impressed with them in set 1.
And this is a team, too, in California. Their last 4 matches, number 1 Pitt, number 12 SMU, and then 2 matches against their travel partner, the 5th-ranked Stanford Cardinal. And so when you win 2 sets over the last 2 weeks, that doesn't sound great, but when you contextualize the fact that this is a Cal program that's got a lot of moving pieces, still figuring things out against some of the most established programs in the country, you get an idea of how battle-tested they are. Mansfield off the right. Koenig launches from the right as well. Taylor Head, what an angle.
Give Taylor Head any amount of line, she's going to take it. Give her any amount of angle, and she's going to take it. Right there, going thumb down, sharp cross court. You see the angle of her approach, allowing her to make that swing so sharp.
Third kill of this first set by Taylor Head, and every one of these errors, especially behind the service line, magnified because of where we are in this first set.
And the service errors have been the difference maker. Florida State has 5, Cal only has 1. Cal's ahead by 2. If you don't make those service errors, Cal's not ahead by that much.
Nice set by Lauren Robertson, teeing up Corey Lewis on the slide.
Corey Lewis, that's her 3rd kill on 6 attempts. She is just so incredibly efficient. If you get a good pass, it's so important to run through her, allow her to use her height advantage, which she has over all of these Cal blockers.
Nearly a misconnection. DeJardin had to reach for it just to tip that ball. What a swing down the line by DeJardin.
I asked Coach Jen Malcolm, when Peyton DeJardin is playing her best, what is she playing like? What does it look like? And she said when she's swinging freely, high and fast. And right there, that was a high, fast swing, avoiding the hands of the block and down the line, which is her tendency.
And there's a big rejection by Yane Henke. And we're seeing a number of players get tight to the net here. On top of that, it looked like they also called Hayden for being in the net. I saw our up and down officials holding up 7 fingers.
Yep, that set just too tight. There was nowhere for Hayden to go with that.
What a serve there by Keelan. Perry nearly cleaned it up on the back end. DeJardin, line again, money again.
If you're Florida State, you're thinking defensively, I know DeJardin is comfortable down the line. She loves it, that's her tendency. You've got to move the block over, take more of that line, or defensively you have to make a shift in the backcourt.
And as good as Maggie Lee is, and she has been every bit of that, Peyton DeJardin is the leading scorer for the Golden Bears in set 1.
And Peyton DeJardin has well over 200 kills on the season, so she has the ability to step up when called upon, and we see it early and often, but Florida State just has to make a couple adjustments to that swing that she's doing down the line, and we'll see if they can make that after this timeout.
And if you're Florida State, when you look at the numbers so far in this first set, and I doubt the coaches are looking at a whole bunch of, black and white numbers at this point, you're hitting 324, you've got 3 blocks, you've spread the ball around well, you got 13 assists, and you're trailing by 2.
And Cal is hitting 241. So if that just doesn't scream, it's the errors on Florida State's side, I don't know what does. The 5 missed serves kill you in a single set.
So we'll see what Chris Poole and company draw up for the 23rd ranked Seminoles of Florida State, who split a pair of matches this past weekend, a tough 5-setter against UNC. One heck of a year that Mike Shaw and the Tar Heels are having up in Chapel Hill. But Florida State had their opportunities to win that match. A 4th set that went beyond 30 points, in fact, that UNC gritted out, got it to a 5th, and then won in the 5th set at home at Carmichael Arena. And then the Noles responded very strongly by sweeping Duke at Cameron Indoor. I mentioned the recent gauntlet that California's been through. It continues this weekend with Florida State in Miami, and so we'll see who prevails here this evening.
I got a feeling it's going to be a good one just from the way that it started.
Pass is tight. Phelan rescues it off the net to get Henke a swing. Smart swing by Kylie Filamawa off the right.
It's so interesting for those who love the sport of volleyball. That second contact from Natalie Lau last year would have been called a double. This year, anything goes, so we played on. And then Kylie Filamawa stepping up on that right side. She's been really efficient over there.
3rd kill for Filamawa. Hayden turned back, covers her own block, and Maggie Lee runs out of room.
good response from Florida State. Now they're back in it. What you cannot do is go to the service line and create an error, and that's exactly what Coach Jen Malcolm is trying to cause right now with this timeout.
It's one of those, you serve two purposes timeouts, right? You draw something up, you talk things over legitimately, and if you just so happen to ice the server and they commit a service error, so be it.
And we see that quite often. You as the server, you're back at the service line, they call a timeout, and it forces you to think about what you're about to do. And when you get mental behind the service line, it's easier to err.
We mentioned the service errors for Florida State, 5-1 by California. As we look at the rest of the numbers, 15 kills to 12 kills. Hitting cleaner are the Seminoles as well, 333 to 226. Cal's back row has done some good work, digging up 15 balls. In fact, they are one of the better teams in the ACC in that department, averaging just shy of 15 digs per set, top 5 in the ACC, in fact, so they're doing a little better by comparison so far here tonight.
Cal's libero, Bartolo, is an elite libero. She's got 332 digs on the season, and she's 4th in the ACC in digs. And if you know how strong the ACC is this year defensively, that's a really impressive feat to have.
And as we take a look at those digs by season, you mentioned the great career she had at Denver, top 10 all-time in digs per set in Colorado. But this year, you see that trend, upward, 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 having perhaps her best year ever in her only year in Berkeley.
And that's exactly what you want out of a grad year. You put in so much time and effort and practice and energy for 4 years. You want your last year to be your best one, and it is for her.
The winner of this point will have set point. Hayden, cross court, misfires, point Seminoles.
And if you're Florida State, you're happy that she just swung out the block. Kelsey Perry not closed, a little late to close there, but luckily Hayden committed a hitting error, and that might be a little bit of rust from not playing for a full month.
And if you're Cal, and the first set's been going pretty well, and you had a timeout to use, might as well use it.
Exactly. Make Kylene Filamawa think again that she's about to go back to serve. I like that she's pushing the service seed line deep from the service line. I think that was a smart decision. But next time, try and not serve to the libero, and I think it'll be perfect.
Florida State on a 3-0 run to take the lead late here in set one, doing a great job of closing the set, at least so far, here at Tully Gymnasium in Tallahassee, Florida. Sean Davison, Madison Fitzpatrick, our entire crew on hand here at Lucy McDaniel Court, where Cal is looking to maybe win in their first match in Tallahassee since 1989. Florida State has won 4 of its last 5 matches coming into this matchup here tonight. It's first to 25, win by 2 for the set. Florida State has their first opportunity. We'll play beyond 25 if we have to. Best 3 sets out of 5 to claim the match. No timeouts for either side. Cal burning them on consecutive points here in these late stages of set 1. Maggie Lee is roofed, and that puts an end to the opening set.
That's my
Tremendous to watch ACC volleyball all season, and this match certainly has been fun to this point through the first set. 25-23 FSU, away we go in set number 2. And Maggie Lee goes off speed from the pin. Anything but off speed there for Corey Lewis, who has yet another kill, her 4th on 7 swings for the match.
Corey Lewis has the ability to hit with so much range. She can hit the 10-foot line, she can hit sharp, nice into those gaps and seams, or she can swing high and smooth over the block and to the corners, so she can really do it all.
Strong serve there by Audrey Koenig. Filamawa off the right.
Filamawa is so athletic. She has the ability to hang in the air and then swing at the right time. Right there, really nice high swing, cross court, middle blocker for Cal. Sawyer Thompson not there to close the block, and you've got to put another block up on Filamawa. She's got way too much power.
A service error by Audrey Koenig, but just to go back to Kylie Filamawa for a second, recruited as an outside hitter here in Tallahassee. Played last year and was on the all-freshman team in the ACC as the Knowles libero after Emery Dupes tore her ACL. And this year has basically done whatever FSU has needed her to do, including playing on the right side where, oh, by the way, today she's got 4 kills on 6 swings.
She's an all-around baller. And on top of all of that, she plays beach volleyball, which is a completely different game. So the athleticism that she has with all these roles she can fill is incredible.
There's Taylor Head off the pin, and for a good part of the year, it's been a challenge for FSU setters to find the right tempo. She ran a tempo system at Arkansas, but as the season has gone along, they found more success with it of late. Already 4 kills for Head in the match.
And this is how you can tell they have found more success. She's had double-doubles in 5 out of the last 6 matches, so she has come into her own here in ACC play.
Yeah, Head also leading FSU in digs per set, nearly 3 for number 1 in gold. The attack error by Cal, and the Knowles are pouring it on here a little bit early in set 2, leading by 3. I mentioned the digs, nearly 200 in fact for Taylor Head to this point this season. DeJardin off speed. Filamawa caught the tape. Did she catch the line? You bet. Point Florida State.
We've seen Filamawa hit a lot from the right pin. There she was on the outside, finding a lot of success around the block. And we've got a timeout.
And after Cal waited until the final 5 points of set 1 to call their first timeout, they call their first timeout of set 2 in the first 10 points of this frame. Number 23, Florida State, leading by 4 up a set in Tallahassee. Back here in Tallahassee, Florida State winning set 1 25-23, out to a 5-1 lead in set 2, causing Jen Malcolm, the head coach of Cal, to call an early timeout. Yane Henke put down the overpass. It got dug up for a second or two, and then out of play it goes. Another point for Florida State. And I know, Madison, we mentioned the service errors in the first set. FSU has no problem committing an error or 2 or maybe 3 or 4 to try to serve aggressively, and the service pressure here in set 2 has been tremendous.
It definitely has, and they're targeting who they want to target. They're serving very accurately to Jordan, and it's working out.
And when you get Cal out of system, you can also set up your block, and that's another one for FSU, who already has 5 in the match.
Look on the right side of your screen. Look at the press and the diving of the arms by Kylie Filamawa. Really good read in the air by her.
3-0 run for the Knowles. And another one turned back. And it looks like maybe Yane Henke was in the net.
And if you're Cal, you're very happy about it. Stop the bleeding a little bit and now try to make up some of this lead.
I saw 8 fingers, but when I looked up, I wasn't sure if I saw a fist before that. That would make the difference between 8 and 18. So it was either Henke or Corey Lewis who was called for being in the net, both of which were in there on that block. Lewis on the slide. Filamawa down the line. Nice swing by DeJardin off the net, caught a touch, and records the kill.
And that was Sawyer Thompson, a middle, playing left back because she's the one serving right now with the dig. And actually, when I was watching film of Cal, Sawyer Thompson gets a lot of digs in left back. She's really fast back there.
We mentioned all she can do. And oh yeah, Kylie Filamawa can bounce balls too.
She absolutely can, and you see the momentum that she has in her approach, just driving through that ball with every single swing. I don't think we've seen a tip or a roll shot from her. She is all power right out of the gates.
6 kills on 8 swings for Kylie Filamawa, hitting a cool .750. And in on the block as well.
In volleyball, when one aspect of your game starts to heat up and you find your rhythm, other aspects start to as well. Right there on the block. Everything is going right for Kylie Filamawa right there, who's reading the angle attack really well and diving her arms into the seam.
DeJardin. Great defense by Kenna Phelan down the line with one hand. Another block by Florida State. And the Noles are rolling in set 2.
The net defense and the floor defense was all out displayed in that play. Kind of feeling really solid back there and right back. Digs a lot of balls that most setters wouldn't be quick enough to dig, but she's very athletic.
Worth mentioning too, ceiling is in play as long as it comes back down on your side of the net within 3 contacts. That ball turned back. Filamawa with yet another kill in the first set and a half.
Florida State's running the table right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a timeout. I called that right there. Cal just called a timeout because everything is going right for Florida State. Defensively, they're making really good net touches, ball touches on the block. And then offensively, they're being efficient. They're taking care of the ball, hitting .545 in this set.
It's been a lopsided affair in set 2, and as we look in at that Cal huddle, things not pretty on the scoreboard right now. They did show a lot of fight in set 1. We'll see what they can show here as we progress through set 2. But I thought it was interesting. Jen Malcolm mentioned to us on our Zoom call a few days ago, and I love what she said. She said, our goal is to win in October in the small things, and hopefully, Madison, that allows us to win actual matches in November. Now, she's not ruling out that the Golden Bears can topple somebody here in October, but they gauntlet of teams for Cal at home and on the road, top 25s left and right, and they're just focusing on getting better and hoping that that will allow them to turn the corner in a month's time.
And I appreciated that mindset from her. FSU is Cal's 5th consecutive top 25 opponent. And I love this quote from Olympian April Ross. She says, you either win or you learn. There's no losing. So with these losses that they're accumulating, they're learning so much and they're getting so much better. And they're hoping in November with an easier schedule, it's going to pay dividends to what they learned.
Couldn't agree more. That's similar to one of my favorite quotes too. Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. And Cal has gained a lot of experience over the last couple of weeks. We'll see what that manifests into here the remainder of the way in Tallahassee. But they have definitely taken steps forward. As she herself, Jen Malcolm, has told us, the things we're doing in the gym are infinitely more advanced than what we were doing to start the season. So they know they're getting better. And that is a strong serve by Kenna Phelan, and after 2 timeouts are burned by Cal, sometimes Madison, quite simply, when it rains, it pours. This is just a garnet and gold onslaught here early in set 2.
It's a flood of garnet and gold right now, and it starts from the service line. Kenna Phelan with that nice flat float serve. It's difficult to pass.
Noles have won the last 5 points. Ava Merton off the right. And Merton could maybe be somebody who starts to turn the momentum back a little bit, number 22 in blue.
And that was a must stop for Cal. That set pretty high. Kylene Filamawa wasn't able to have all of her momentum in her approach. She had to slow her approach. And it was a bit of a trap set because those 2 blockers had all the time in the world to get set up.
Yane Henke off speed, picked up by Sophia Johnson, and the Noles knocked that one into the antenna. Point Cal. Still 12-5 Florida State. And Kelsey Perry drops the hammer.
That's one of my favorite sets to watch. Kenna Phelan does a perfect job at getting that ball right to Kelsey Perry's hand. It's a difficult set to attack because she's doing her approach as Kenna Phelan is setting that ball, so the margin of error is really big, but Kelsey Perry with a nice drive straight down.
That block was out of play, so credit Hayden for tooling FSU for yet another kill for number 7 in blue.
They like to run Hayden on that slide. She's had a lot of success with it, spreading out the block. Florida State's block is pretty big and pretty physical, so you've got to move the ball around, and that's what they just did.
Another kill for AK, number 4, Audrey Koenig with her 7th of the match.
Audrey Koenig just makes it look easy, and I can urge everyone at home, it is not easy, but the way that she attacks the ball is so confidently. She has such a smooth arm swing, and she just takes care of it every single time.
Co-player of the year in the ACC a season ago on Chris Poole's co-champion squad. And good to see California starting to get the wheels underneath them a little bit, gaining some traction, hanging with Florida State now in terms of just trading points. A lot of damage done early, though. We'll see if they can continue to work their way into it. Bartalo serves it in. Head off speed, off the block. Thompson out of the middle. And a free ball back to California. Off speed, picked up by Phelan. And Thompson is roofed. That is the second tremendous play on the floor by Kenna Phelan that has fueled her own block.
Kenna Phelan's quick twitch reflexes are absolutely elite. She's only a sophomore, but she plays such solid defense, laying out for the pancake, popping it up, allowing her team a chance to play another round of defense. Taylor Head taking control of that block. Coach Jen Malcolm said they wanted to take advantage of the height disparity with Taylor Head being a little undersized, but with Taylor Head's vertical, she really makes up for that height disparity.
Already, as we've mentioned, several kills for Taylor Head. That's also her second block in this match. Head, who stands at 5'10", to Jen Malcolm's, and to your point, undersized compared to what you typically see at the net. A lot of heart, though, for Head, and a hefty swing by Maggie Lee, and number 3 in blue has yet another kill.
Corey Lewis a little late to close, a little slow to get out there, but that's because Cal is doing a better job at spreading out their offense. Sawyer Thompson around the setter, running behind, moving the block, holding Corey Lewis on her, allowed that gap to be caused.
15-8 Florida State. No midway media timeout after Cal called too early. Audrey Koenig with another kill.
Audrey Koenig swings so high. On the block, you have to be there and you have to be on time. If you're late at all, Audrey Koenig is going to swing right over you.
Kylene Filamawa called for being in the net for FSU. The attack was wide, but Filamawa bails out the Golden Bears with a net fault.
And sometimes that happens when you're a little too juiced up on the block and you're pressing as much as you can. It's like a full body crunch. Sometimes you err in the net, but Florida State has got some leeway.
That'll send Maggie Lee back to serve again. And that'll put an end to Maggie Lee's service rotation. Taylor Head with another kill.
Really good set from Lauren Robertson, who does a good job at getting her feet to the ball, squaring her hips to the antenna, and delivering a nice tempo set just as Taylor Head likes.
Lauren Robertson, the transfer from Memphis. Didn't play a lot last year. When things went sideways for the Tigers, Memphis opted to bring a lot of the younger talent in and get them some experience, but she made her way to Tallahassee, has shown a very nice connection with a lot of FSU's hitters. And the Noles continue to roll here in set 2.
And I like the aggressive serving from Taylor Head, who runs things behind the service line.
The Noles have doubled up the Golden Bears here as they approach the red zone. That's another tight pass. And whether it's been being aced or just not being able to handle the serves cleanly, first ball contact has really been a problem for California here in set 2.
And first ball contact can make or break you. If you don't have a clean first ball, if you're not giving your setter a 3-option pass and your options are limited or you're overpassing, you're just not going to beat a team like Florida State.
Service error by Head, point back to California.
If you're Cal, you're still in this. You have to have a never say die kind of attitude, but you can also try to gain momentum for the next set. So be working to get momentum in this set to take it to the next one as well.
Corey Lewis turned back by the block. Now gets it over the block, and Ashley Lee sends the free ball over. Filamaua facing a double block. Wasn't able to get that ball across. It's an attack error for number 12 in goal.
That was a difficult one. Lauren Robertson did everything she could to get her feet there, get underneath that ball, and give Kylie Filamaua a high enough set, but I think it was just too far off the net and she couldn't snap on it like she wanted to.
Taylor Head, back row. And it's been interesting, Madison, because it feels like Florida State has been doing that more often.
And one of the fun things about that rotation is they had 2 back row attackers that could swing at that ball. And Lauren Robertson is the other back row player, so she had 5 options on offense that were able to get up and swing for her.
Nice pass. And Mansfield goes off speed. Perry turned back by the block, and FSU wasn't able to play it up. Point to Cal.
And that's just a little communication error. There was a couple people around the ball. Sometimes that happens. If you're Florida State, you wipe it off, and all you need is one side out at a time is your mindset.
What a swing by Kylie Filamaua. And what a great block by Michaela Hayden.
2 really good defensive plays from Cal. Their libero Bartalo so solid in left back, keeping these plays alive. And then Hayden showing us why she's happy she's back in the lineup and why she makes an impact every single time she plays is because of how solid that block is from her.
4-0 run for the Golden Bears. And Kelsey Perry puts an end to it.
Good decision from Kelsey Perry. That ball coming from behind her, so she was smart about it. Went with the off-speed tip to the open court. And you don't see that sometimes out of the middle running that gap set, so Cal wasn't ready for it.
Perry, the sophomore from Frisco, Texas, whose career began at Iowa State. In fact, when she was a freshman, her associate head coach was Jen Malcolm, the head coach at Cal. She said, I know her and I know her game well. Collision there by the Golden Bears, but Ashley Lee was able to recover and find the cross-court kill.
It was a nice brave swing from Ashley Lee. She didn't have her full approach in front of her. There was 2 blockers up, pressed and ready, but she took a nice big rip cross court, and it paid off.
Maddie Snyder has checked into the opposite slot for FSU. That was her first swing. Kenna Phelan, with great vision of the court, takes it over on 2.
Welcome to the party. Kenna Phelan making her presence known as an offensive weapon herself. Up in the air, she's got really good discipline. Holding in the last second, dumping it over. The opposing defense wasn't ready for it. They were on their heels because this is the first time she pulled it out.
That sends Emery Dupes back to serve. Maggie Lee, an impressive swing once again for Maggie.
Cal refuses to quit. They're staying in it. Nice quick side out from them. Now, if you're the Bears, you want to go back to the service line and give them something aggressive.
Bartalo serves it in. Nowhere for Koenig to go. Ran out of room and into the antenna.
And you see Kenna Phelan saying, my bad, my bad. She knew that set was a little too far outside the antenna. Koenig would have to cut it off a lot quicker, and that's really difficult to do with the speed of that set.
5 attack errors either side here in set number 2. The good news for Florida State is that's come by comparison to 16 kills in this second set. And the service error by Bartalo, the second of the match for California, puts the Noles within 2 points of winning the first 2 sets.
Trading service errors there. Sometimes you see that. I've actually seen that a lot in the past couple of weeks. One team misses a serve, you go back there, that's fresh in your mind, and then you miss your serve. But now what you need is a side out. You only need 2 more if you're Florida State.
I'll tell you what, California burned their second timeout of set 2, trailing 11-3. They have trimmed the lead to 5.
It's like they didn't need the timeout. Now they're going with their momentum. They're in a rhythm offensively, defensively. They're making really good plays, and it's paying off.
Corey Lewis dug up by Bartalo, and miscommunication costs the Golden Bears. Somebody's got to play that ball.
You absolutely have to. You're in the red zone. Florida State's within 2. You make a really good up on defense. That's one of those errors that you really can't commit this late into the set.
Set points now for the Seminoles. And Cal extends the set with a kill off the block.
Talk about taking momentum into the next set. Cal doing everything they can to stay in it. They've been playing at a really high level during this comeback.
Still set point for Florida State. Nice pass by Dupes. Off speed by Lewis, and a free ball to the Noles. Taylor Head hammers it to the Terraflex.
To score. First ball contact is going to be huge for them in set 3.
It's a decent pass by DeJardin, but Florida State's back row was able to dig the attack and transition to Audrey Koenig off the right side, and FSU is on the board first in set 3.
Audrey Koenig can find the outstretched arms of a blocker so well and just swipe it off of him. She does that really well.
And there's another ace serve for FSU. We saw a bunch of errors early, and now they've dropped in several aces since.
They've smoothed it out. They've found what's comfortable. They're in a rhythm now behind the service line, and those errors are a lot less now that they found this rhythm.
Strong start to this set for Lauren Robertson at the service line. Merton off speed over the block. What a quick arm swing by number 1 in gold, Taylor Head. Turned that ball down the line in a hurry.
And Emery Dupe showing us why she's the libero. Nice, quick, fast dig. And then Taylor Head, with all of that experience, sees the block, lines up in her angle, and it's an easy swing down the line for her.
A second ace for Lauren Robertson.
And that's a nice deep serve in between 2 different serve receivers. What I want to see from Cal is communication. You have to over-communicate on a serve like that.
That's 3 sets out of 5 to win the match. First to 25, win by 2 for this third set. So if you're Cal, you need that side out, and you need it now. Back set, Mansfield dug up by Dupes. And Lewis out of the middle puts it down.
That set, not the highest, or not at the height that Corey Lewis might have wanted, but she's so athletic that she rose down to it and tipped it with all of that power to get the kill.
It's the 6th kill of the match for Corey Lewis. She and her Seminoles lead 5-0 in set 3. Back here in Tallahassee, the 23rd ranked Seminoles of Florida State leading at 5-0 over California in set 3. It's a set that the Golden Bears must win to extend the match. First to 25, win by 2 to claim set 3, or in FSU's case, the match. And if you're the Golden Bears, that's what you wanted out of the timeout. You wanted a side out. You wanted to get Lauren Robertson off the service line, who already has 2 aces in this set. And mission accomplished.
And you don't want to get yourself dug too deep into a hole like you did in the last set, having to fight throughout the entire set just to make up for that deficit.
It sends Maggie Lee back to serve. And Audrey Koenig is the first to double digits on either side of the net tonight.
Opposing middle blocker Sawyer Thompson staying with Corey Lewis, and that's why it's so advantageous to have such an efficient middle blocker. Held Sawyer Thompson on her, and then Audrey Koenig had such space to score.
Koenig herself back to serve on the jump top, passed well, and off serve receive. The Golden Bears are able to side out.
Sawyer Thompson is one of those players through the middle that needs to get going if they're going to continue making a run at Florida State. That's only her second kill on 9 attempts.
Thompson, who now goes back to serve, a player that her head coach described as the steadiest all season for California. And Kylene Filamaua continues to be a spark plug for the Noles off the right.
And she finds ways to score. That set was high. She waited on her approach. She had really solid patience. And also really nice out-of-system set by Emery Dukes. That's one of her strengths for sure, is pushing that set to her hitters when they're out of system.
High reach for Desjardins, and the youngster makes the most of it.
That is making lemons out of lemonade. That set so far behind her head. That was the only thing that she could have done right there, and she did it well to the open court.
Second leading scorer for Cal with yet another kill. Passes tight, and Robertson knocks it over the net. And when you see a back row setter knock it over the net and into a player on the other side of the net, that is going to be called an illegal back row attack every single time.
Well said, Sean. Completely agree.
Over Doug's second effort for Lewis. Bartalo digs the middle, and in transition, Desjardins terminates down the line.
Desjardins with that tendency to go down the line. She's gonna rip it to that line almost every single time. You see her nice and high over the arms of Kylene Filamaua, who's a little early to press. And Desjardins took advantage, swinging high and deep.
Desjardins, the leading scorer now for the Golden Bears. Her 9th kill on 19 swings, hitting north of 400. And Cal is on a 3-0 run to get within 2 of the Noles here in this third set. Great effort there by Filamaua. And Yane Henke is the beneficiary, number 18 in gold, the D2 transfer out of Cal State, LA.
One of the things that Florida State is really good at is serve receive. Their first ball contact is really clean, and when they get into a rhythm, they're able to get it to their setter pretty consistently.
Maggie Lee, back row.
Maggie Lee has the ability to put the team on her back and get them closer to Florida State with all of that power, her ability to swing from back row, and then you see her in the middle of your screen, identifying the outstretched arms of Kelsey Perry and swinging away, straight down her body, dropping her thumb.
Desjardins with the service error. But I want to come back to Maggie Lee, Madison. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, she has been the Terminator now for 2 years for Cal, the cheap Terminator, I should say. But beyond that, to make her more dominant, Jen Malcolm said they're working on the variety. Back row attacks certainly qualify.
Most definitely. She said last season they relied on her power. Now they're trying to add more range, like you see right there, and more tools to her toolbox.
Maggie Lee just obliterating the out of system on an absolutely absurd angle. And now north of 300 kills on the season.
That is such an impressive feat.
Deep serve, out of play, point back to Florida State. Lee herself north of 400 kills last year, 4th most amongst all D1 freshmen.
And one of the reasons why that's so impressive as well is she's always seeing 4 arms, sometimes 6 arms on her at all times. So she finds ways to score even around that.
Free ball here to Florida State. And Koenig terminates off the right.
When in a pickle, I say set Koenig. She has the ability to problem solve for this team and swing up and over Maggie Lee with a nice high snap.
And with your 11th kill in the match, that is now an 18-match streak with 10 or more for Audrey Koenig.
Talk about dominance.
What a serve there. Great pickup by Bartalo. Well played off the ceiling by Phelan, and Koenig is able to tool the block.
I don't know how Kenna Phelan set that ball as well as she did. The ball ricocheted off of the arms of Henry Dukes, hit the ceiling, and then came back down. I think she's proud of that set as well. That was all about getting her feet in the right position to make that set.
Yeah, she cracked a smile there for all of about 2 seconds, and then immediately back to work, which if you're Chris Poole, Jeff Holzmeyer, Lindsay Allman, you'll love to see that.
Definitely, especially because Chris Poole doesn't really crack smiles. He's pretty all gung-ho, blazing all the time, so he probably appreciates that from her.
Service error there by Florida State puts an end to a 3-0 run. Cal trailing by 4 needs a run of their own. Head off speed. And that's a good start. Sawyer Thompson in on the block, number 15.
Sawyer Thompson is leading her team in blocks, and it's because she's very disciplined. Read blocking, waiting for the set, making the quick dynamic move to the ball, up and pressing at the right time.
Thompson has recorded as many as 7 in a match this season and in her career. And this time it's Mansfield off the right side, blocking it down the line.
Coach Malcolm told us that Kate Mansfield is working on her blocking, getting more hands to the ball and surrounding the ball. And you can see right there with the press and the way that her palms come together towards the ball that she's been working on what they've been practicing.
And just like that, for the moment before the service error, California was back within a couple. So still within touch is Jen Malcolm's squad. And if you're California, this is a service rotation that certainly draws added attention. This is where the Noles started this set off, and Lauren Robertson served the first 5 points, 2 of which were aces. Bartalo, we just had a meet and greet with her. Heck of a defensive effort. But after all of that, FSU cleans things up at the net nonetheless.
And you can tell Lauren Robertson, the setter for Florida State, is really experienced because you can see the scrambling on Cal's side defensively. So she's going to set the quickest attacker right in front of her, Corey Lewis, who can take advantage of the ball quickly.
Tight. Mansfield makes the most of it. And great work there by Lau on defense. Mansfield, same thing. And DeJarden just runs out of room.
Cal is playing well. They're making really scrappy digs on defense. They're doing really well, but the Florida State block can be really dominant and shut down any offense around the country. And right now it happens to be Cal.
10 blocks now for Florida State as a team. This most recent one, their first one of this set. Robertson back to serve again. And that is a good sign for Cal. You hate, if you are a fan of the blue and yellow, that she went on a mini run there and extended the lead to 4 from 2. But it could have been worse.
And that was a really good front row rotation for Florida State. So if you're Cal, you're happy to be out of it.
Maggie Lee back to serve. It's a tough one. The pass is tight and down. It's an ace for Lee.
Maggie Lee leads from every area of the court. And you have to give an aggressive serve to Florida State in order to cause some chaos back there.
Back and forth the lead goes. It feels like it sits anywhere from 2 to 4 points here in this third set, Madison.
Yep, and Florida State's liable to go on a long run to get them to the end zone. So if you're Cal, you want to inch at that lead as much as possible right now.
Koenig, back row. Great defense by California. I mentioned great defense by California. How about the double block of Kylene Filamawa?
So solid, up and pressed at the right time. And you know, this has been a really impressive display defensively, both sides of the net. Neither team giving up at any point during that rally.
Chris Poole has pulled the challenge card. He's discussing things with Darren Clark. And it looks like we will get our first challenge of the match here midway in set 3. It looks like it will be a challenge that somebody from Cal was in the net.
Florida is challenging that there was a net.
Darren Clark coming over to confirm that Florida State was challenging that Cal was in the net. Now it's interesting, there's a finger system this year, well actually last year and this year, Madison, where 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 fingers tells you essentially what they're challenging. So I saw the 3 fingers held up by Darren Clark, and that is the quick confirmation that a team is challenging a net fault. But while we're at it, might as well mention that under the recently revised, and I say recently as in the last few seasons revised challenge system, now you get 2 for the match, and if you're correct, you keep your challenge. And we'll see if Florida State is in fact correct.
And I can't tell if the ball is blocking the arms when she touches it or if it's clean, but from my perspective, it looks clean to me.
The call on the floor was that it was a clean block by Cal, and unless you see something indisputable, it's hard to overturn that call. Now, I mentioned if you are correct and they overturn the call on the floor, you get your challenge back. If you are incorrect, you lose the challenge. We'll take a look at this clip here real quick, though. And you might have heard Darren Clark coming over to tell us that there will be a reversal on that call and that there will be a net violation against Cal. And I think that overhead view might have been the one that sold it. It looked like when Sawyer Thompson came down, maybe that elbow clipped the top of the tape.
And you could kind of see the net move after she did that as well. So we play on, Florida State lengthening their lead.
So FSU gets their challenge back, and more importantly, if you're tuning in rooting for Cal, that's a 2-point swing. You not only lose the point, but then Florida State wins it, and a 3-point deficit becomes 5. Great effort there by Lau, getting that ball back in for somebody to put a swing on it. It's an attack error, though, and the Noles lead by 6.
You have to appreciate Natalie Lau and how much effort she gives her team. She's their setter, she's a junior. She was a walk-on, but she trained for this possibility of an opportunity like this one, and she has it, and you can tell she takes advantage of it. She's playing with her whole heart.
Yeah, currently top 5 in the ACC in assists per set. You mentioned Natalie Lau being a walk-on. Jen Malcolm told us she's so proud of her. It was a situation that Analea Mader went down with an injury, needed surgery. She's out the rest of the year, and so is the local kid who walked onto the team. You dream big, maybe you wonder if your opportunity will come. It came in her junior season, and she's made the most of it.
Yeah, you can tell she's really leaned into this role, and Coach Malcolm also told us that Analea Mader does film with Natalie Lau, and she'll make suggestions on plays to run and advice on how to be the best starting setter she can be. So it's a real team atmosphere for both of those setters. And Natalie Lau takes it all from her because she's such an experienced setter, and Analea Mader.
Lau came in primarily as a serve sub early in her career. In fact, had 11 aces to no errors as a freshman back in 2022. All 6 of those assists came in a match early in her freshman season. No other assists, barely played a season ago, and this year she's casually, one of the best in the ACC in assists per set.
That is so impressive. That stat line, she hasn't been commanding an offense for the first 2 years of her collegiate career. And now she comes in, and it's when Cal is in the ACC, and this is the toughest competition that Cal has faced. And she's been leading them really well with little to no experience before.
We'll see how she's able to spread the ball around. Cal has been pin heavy in this match in terms of their scoring output. Filamawa off the right with another kill.
Speaking of balanced offenses, Lauren Robertson does a really solid job at spreading the ball out, and that makes it really difficult to block. As a blocker, you can't cheat. You have to wait, then read the set, because it could go to any single one of those front line attackers or Audrey Koenig in the back row.
FSU has won the last 4 points. FSU has won the last 5 points.
You said when it rains, it pours, and it is flooding Florida State. It's every aspect of their game right now has heated up, and right now behind the service line, Audrey Koenig with her hybrid serve is getting Cal in a lot of trouble.
It's interesting, right, Madison? It's not necessarily a jump top, but it also isn't a float. It's kind of a weird combination of both, and it's largely worked out well for her.
Absolutely. She tosses it like it's going to be a float serve, and then she contacts it with a little bit of speed and snap to make it spin a little bit. It's difficult because teams aren't used to it.
Robertson rescues that ball off the net, and gave Taylor Head enough room to get a swing off.
She rescued it off the net, and she set Taylor Head in the tempo that she likes to be set. That was really well done by the grad setter.
And the grad pin goes back to serve off her latest kill. Now 10 in the match for Taylor Head. Mansfield off hands into the floor.
Mansfield finds a lot of success on that slide attack. She's really athletic. She gets to the ball quick, and then she's able to tool off the high hands of Florida State because of how high she contacts that ball.
Mansfield, a player that her head coach said has a fantastic arm. She said she's always had that piece, working on the range as she continues to grow. Maddie Snyder swinging away. Koenig setting Filamawa out of system. Pin, feed, and pin.
The all-around athleticism of Florida State is on display. I think almost every single attacker hit that ball in that play. And then you also have out-of-system setting that is just as good as an in-system set.
I mean, when you're hitting 500 with 12 kills and 6 digs, a block, might as well sprinkle in 4 assists as well if you're Audrey Koenig. Hayden beat the block.
Nice fast arm swing from Hayden, taking advantage of that block not being closed. If you're Cal, you have nothing to lose at this point. You play all out. You don't miss your serve. You cannot commit small unforced errors like that, but you have to play all out from this point on.
Smart to set a player like Hayden. Give somebody else a look. See if you can side out. See if you can string some points together, and there's an ace serve.
And Hayden back in the lineup from a month ago, 5 kills. They've set her a little bit. She's got 10 attempts and 4 blocks, so her presence is known defensively as well.
Filamawa off hands into the floor.
Now Filamawa steps into leading the team with the most kills at 13. You see how high her vertical is, and she takes advantage of the block not being closed, swiping it off the inside arm of Hayden.
FSU 2 points away from the match. Maggie Lee rises and fires. Hayden off speed. What a smart decision by the veteran.
Really smart decision. She could feel that ball off the net. It wasn't perfectly at its peak for her to swing and snap on it. So it was a wise decision by her. She knows that she doesn't want to error there, so all she did was tip it to the open court.
Taylor Head back row once again.
All of Florida State's 6 rotation outsides can hit from the back row, and they've been really effective from that position attacking.
And just like that, the Noles have arrived at match points. And Maggie Lee will delay the proceedings at least one more point.
And now if you're Florida State, you think one side out, clean first ball contact. Kenna Phelan has all of her options open. She's got a lot of terminal hitters to set.
Lau serves it in. And Taylor Head calls match for the Noles.
Taylor had her 12 kills firing through that ball.